Oh, the pilot life. Don't we all just want to be that guy who goes into the cockpit with his nice uniform, gets off the plane, and just knows that he'll fly again the next day? But you don't even know how to get the money. You have zero savings, and you don't even know how to do research to get into that special skill that will make you a pilot. Well, stick with me in this video. So, you want to be a pilot, but you don't know how. I will tell you exactly what way to do it. Now, who am I? Full disclosure, my name is Frank, and I am not a pilot just yet. But if this video is up, it's because I finally, after doing 4 years of research, I have made it into a flight school that accommodates for all my needs. Why 4 years? COVID, Brexit, and money. So, I'm going to share with you how to go about getting the money that you need, or what there are options out there in order for you to become a pilot in a reasonable amount of time. I will go down in detail of how you can do it, even if you have zero savings, zero money, zero sponsors, and even if you don't have a house to take out a second mortgage on because you thought I was going to do that. No. Click on this timestamp here if you just want to skip the cadetships. And in that section, towards the end of the video, I explained how to what cadetships there are out there. And cadetships are basically just a contract that a future employee does with you, and they put you through flight school for free, but they're hard to get into. If you want to go and watch that specifically, click here. So there's two ways of becoming a pilot, because becoming a pilot is not about going through flight school. That's the easy part. The hard part is making it into flight school. Now, you can ask a pilot how to land a plane, how to pilot an aircraft. However, if a pilot got into flight school 10 years ago, and if they had the luck to have their parents sponsoring it, aka their parents, then there's no point in asking them, because that's the easy part. But for us poors, we kind of have to use our brain a little bit to get into flight school in the first place. So, first and foremost, there's two ways of going into pilot school: cadetships or modular. Modular is basically breaking down the whole course from private pilot license to night flight to hour building to multi-crew and basically doing it that way. And the modular is basically, and you can take your time as much as you want with the modular, and the cadetships are basically an 18-month course to 2 years course where an aviation or flight airline will put you through school. Now, first thing what I want you to do is get a pen and paper and write down exactly these 4 things and take stock of your situation. I want you to ask yourself, do you actually want to become a pilot, or do you actually like the lifestyles? If you're a pilot, you're going to have to work awkward hours, you're crammed into a little space, and you have to assess if you want to do that, or do you actually just like the lifestyle, you like walking through the airport looking handsome with a nice suit on. I've heard so many horror stories of guys putting down all that money just to be scared to fly a Cessna, because they assume that, oh, I'm a pilot, I go to flight school, I'm going to sit in a nice simulator, and I'm going to get into a nice 747 and fly that. No. Go into a school, ask for an experience, pay $100, £100, and they will give you half an hour, and you can actually fly it with a little Cessna, and some may even give you control so you get the feel. Do you actually want to become a pilot? Number 2, assess your health. Be honest with yourself. Is your eyesight good enough? And I'm not just talking about your short or long vision. I'm talking about your depth perception, and if you're colorblind. Be honest with yourself. There's no point in going for a class 1 medical if you know you're not going to pass it. Like everything, that costs a lot of money. In reality, number 3, in reality, you want to put £700 away a month, because in that time, in 1 year, £700 a month or dollars or whatever, it's enough in 1 year to get to start paying for your PPL. That's why I'm saying 700 minimum a month. If it's less than that, it's going to take too long. Now you're going to ask me, well, how the heck am I going to get this money? Well, I'm going to go into that next. So, but before I go into that, now after you have a job which permits you to put aside £700 a month, I want you to make a clear plan of when you're going to finish it, roughly when you're able to finish it. I want you to make a clear plan of where do you want to be a pilot. Very important. I was in the UK when I wanted to start. Since we had Brexit, so the same authorities that govern the UK and aviation are no longer here, so I had to adjust for that. It was the EASA, now it's just the British version of that, so I had to calculate that stuff into it as well. So I always want you to make a plan, make plan Bs, plan Cs, and it doesn't actually hurt if you have other qualifications under your belt, just in case something happens. So I'm gonna get down into the nitty-gritty of how to actually go about getting a job which permits you to become a pilot and to put aside enough money to finish in a relatively good time. I would aim for 4 years because I would look at it, I would use the mindset, okay, I am doing a university course, this is going to be like a university course for me, I'm going to give myself 4 years to become a pilot. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the problem is that people assume that the best jobs out there are like white collar IT jobs. I thought this as well. For the longest time I wanted to get into IT, and I will actually make a more detailed video in the future about exactly how I went about wanting to become a pilot, to not wanting to become a pilot, to being disappointed, because it's going to be more detailed than this, and it's going to tell you exactly what to look out for and who to ask and what to do. But in this video I just want to get specifically into how to get the money. So you want to ignore all the IT white collar stuff. You would assume that those are the jobs that pay the best and easy to get into. No, maybe this was the case 7 years ago. Well, unfortunately, that market is oversaturated. If you're already in that, good for you. Unfortunately, it's oversaturated. You have to have experience or know someone. Basically, during COVID, everyone thought, and it was a great lifestyle, you get to work from home. I'm going to study to become an IT engineer, UX designer, whatever. And this work just got filled up. You wanna go blue collar. Why blue collar? And this is why I done it. You're gonna say to myself, oh no, I'm gonna have to work. Well, what do you think you're gonna have to do? You don't have a house to take a second mortgage out on. Your mom and dad are not called Trump or Rockefeller. You're not gonna be able to get the money. You're gonna have to get the money somehow, and the only way to do is go blue collar. And you think, oh, but what am I meant to do? Well, let me tell you exactly what we need to do. What I done is, in my specific case here in Scotland, I started looking, okay, I need a job that gives me 700, where I can put up £700 a month, if not more. I want to be able to do overtime. I don't want to pay big amounts of money to get into this job, and I want to get into it as quick as possible. Not a year from now, maximum 3 months from now. So I looked, what are the jobs that nobody wants to do but pay well? And there's a lot of them. These are all blue collar. So examples: oil rig engineer, bus driver, a lorry driver, some cases factory work, and other boiler engineer, these things. In my case, I went into public transport. I looked around and I thought, okay, I don't want to become a gas engineer. It's about a £5,000 course, and I don't want to study for 3 months. I don't want to necessarily go on oil rigs because for me, I like to be home. Number 3, I don't want to necessarily go into factory work because there's not many factories where I live. So I thought, okay, public transport. Now this is great. This is easy to get in. The public transport sector I got into paid for the course. I didn't have to put down even a penny to learn to get that license. There was a ton of overtime, and nobody wants to do it because it's blue collar and people look down at bus drivers and all blue collar work. Everyone wants to go into IT. Everybody wants to work from home. That is saturated. You're not gonna get in, and you're not gonna make enough to become a pilot unless you're already in. Great. So go blue collar. Look for jobs that permit you to do overtime, and look for jobs where you have to pay minimal to no amount to get the license, where they're desperate to get on folks. And there's so many jobs like this: plumbers, and electricians, joiners. In Britain, even with this economy that we have in 2025 with the inflation, they're always looking for bus drivers, they're always looking for plumbers, they're always looking for boiler engineers, they're always looking for people who can do gardening. Look for anything where you can do overtime, and that's all you need to do, and just put aside enough money. And you say, oh well, this is hard. It's not hard. It took me literally from applying to become a bus driver to getting in and doing overtime. It took me a month from end to end. It took me including them teaching me how to become a bus driver. It took me a month, and it made the whole thing so much more realistic. Because before I was working I was delivering medication to old folk, people who are invalids and can't really go anywhere. And basically, with that, I could not become a pilot. I could not put aside enough money in the next 10 years to get in. Honestly, you have to go blue collar, and you're just gonna have to face that. Just look for any jobs that nobody wants to do. Now, the second thing is you want to protect your assets. Now, so that means that I don't want you to, this is the second thing, so whilst you're making all that money, there's inflation. I don't want you to race against inflation. This was my mistake. I initially said to myself, I'm going to give myself 4 years to become a pilot, and I'm going to do everything once I have the money. Now, that's not a good thing, because in my case, there's a school in Perth, a good flight school called ACS Perth, and when I looked into it in 2019, this flight school was only 55,000 plus, bits and bobs for other things. Now the same school is doing it for 80,000. You don't want to race against inflation. Best thing you can do is, as soon as you have the amount to put down for a PPL, is immediately start doing it, because at least you're in. As soon as you have the 10 grand, put it down. Try not to take out any loans. You don't want to put everything on the line. And if you have a little bit of savings on top of that, that's good. But as soon as you're able to afford it, go for the PPL. Do not wait the 4 years. Don't race against inflation. Inflation is going to beat you. You're not making the money. The banks are making the money, and they will beat you always. So as soon as you do, start it, because at least you got that out of the way, and at least you're in the loop. And keep that plan going. As soon as you have for the night flight, do it. As soon as you have amount of money to put down for our building, do it. Just keep doing it. Keep doing it. Don't wait. Now, there's a second option. Cadetships. Cadetships were not around in 2019. Flight schools were done. They thought that they are able to just depend on people's goodwill and good money from their own pockets to pay for this. Now, that didn't happen. When the pandemic kicked in, a lot of pilots who were old by that point, because they actually done cadetships in the early 2000s, they were starting to get old, and they said, well, you know what? There's no more flights. People don't want to fly. We can't even fly legally, so let's just pack it in. I'm going to go with retirement. So what happened? Flight schools started coming out with cadetships again. Now, what are cadetships? Cadetships is that if you're smart enough, you're clever enough, and you pass all the tests that they put you through, they will literally pay for most, if not all, of your training in 18 months, and you get a guaranteed job at the end of that training, and they lock you down for about 5 years. Now, I personally applied to 3 of these. There's more than that. I know of 4. So them being Viz Air, British Airways, Baltic Air, and TUI. So what are the procedures in all of these? This is what you're going to have to do. You're going to make an application. You're going to tailor your already existing CV to the aviation sector and tell them why you would be a good candidate. Any relative experience, if you're driving, if you're looking after people, or anything that involves people, anything that involves concentration. For me, that was great, because I drive a buses. I'm basically a pilot without the plane. So I use that strength. Then I want you to make a cover letter. For God's sake, don't use ChatGPT. If you are going to use it for the basics, and at least heavily edit it with your own words. Make it unique. Now, as for any qualifications that you're going to have to scan in, people say you should scan it in. I don't think this actually matters that much. You can just take a photo and do it that way. But if you want to make sure, then scan it in. But yeah, and then the process. So so I'm gonna go down all the ones that I did. I done Viz Air. Viz Air is a Hungarian airline, and they train in Thessaloniki or Kavala, or they train in Nyíregyháza, Hungary. But likely, I think they'll all be the only training in Hungary. I haven't seen any courses that they're doing in Greece at the moment. So what you have to do, you have to send in your qualification the same way I just told you. Once you do that, you'll get back to you in about a week, and they point you to a website called Test Air. Now, I'm not going to tell you exactly what the tests are, because I've been asked basically to do a non-disclosure that is I'm not allowed to tell you, but it's basically psychometric test and mathematics and physics. And on this Test Air, you'll have to pay £100 to complete the exam. The exam is 5 hours, and I told you it consists of a psychometric test. It consists of another test which will test your basically your visual and acoustic memory, and of course your orientation. I'm not going to break you down exactly what they are, but if you type it into Google, you got a good idea of. You can type in aviation psychometric tests or whatever. Then physics and maths tests. These physics and maths tests are of the same ones that 16 or 17-year-old would do exams on. Now, very important, before you actually send away the application, I actually want you to study for 6 months or 3 months at least before you do it, because once you send it away, they usually give you about a month to study for the 5-hour exam, so you have to do it within a month. And if you haven't done math and physics since you were 18 and you're 30 like I was, then I think you're going to struggle, even if you're a smart guy. So you sent away that. they put you to test there where you pay £100 and there's practice tests, and then before your tests, your exam, your 5-hour exam, you got a Zoom call with a representative from the Niraj Haza airport, not from Wizz Air itself, who will talk you to and tell you exactly what the tests are. Now be very careful with this, because in my case they told us that during the physics bit there's gonna be there's gonna be the formulas. There was no formulas, and actually the test is much harder. Not much, but a bit harder actually than the actual practice itself. I want you to practice, hence why I want you to practice before you even send away your CV to Wizz Air. Now, why I notice this, if you're a girl, woman, and you want to become a pilot, it's even great, because the initial cost, even if you get in, you have to pay £10,000 if you're a guy. If you're a woman, it's 500. Now, I appreciate that they're doing this. I can understand that some women out there might find it hard to get into a male-oriented environment, so I can appreciate the equity factor in this. However, I do think it's mostly because of choice. So if the aviation sector is 90% male, then it's because of choice. And I don't know how much people are actually helping with this, but I do think it's a good thing overall. I know that my mom wanted to be a doctor when she was young, and she faced the same money issues. So I know if she had something like this going forward in the health sector, she would have definitely utilized this. But you know, I do think that it is mostly a choice. So if they actually went, just as a side note, if they went down the GDP route per capita, that is to say, well, because they tailor this cadetships to, anyone can do it from the EU, but it's mostly towards the Balkans and the Baltic states. So if they went down the route of, okay, who are the poorest countries, Moldova, Macedonia, Bosnia, and they said, okay, they only have to pay £3,000 to get in, but as a Hungarian and Pole might have to pay 5, and a Western European 7. I think it would have been more in line with reality and equity. But I do think it's good. It's good. You want to promote women in this because they might get put off by the male-oriented environment. But for Wizz Air, you have to pay 10,000. And if you're a woman, £500, so just 500 put down, plus you can't work during the studies, so this could be an issue. So it's, in realistically speaking, it's like 20,000 that you have to put down, but it's still better than 60. So yeah, be prepared for that. The next one is BA, so British Airways here in the UK. You don't have to pay any amount to get in. You get in, you're zero. If you're a woman, you're a man, you just have to pay. Which I actually found weird how the Hungarian airlines actually do have this equity, but in Britain they don't. Yeah, so it's basically the same. You apply again, CV, cover letter, and then you do a personality test. If you would actually want to be a pilot, again they ask you if you like doing shifts, if you like awkward hours, are you prepared to miss any events. Then they ask you, then they do like a basic psychometric test. Then they ask you to do a maths test, basic maths test, basic. This is even before of the proper exam. And then you do a comparison test. That is, you're gonna spot details that are missing. So for example, you get in this example, you will get like I don't know, like a manifesto and a passport, and see if there's any details missing. And then you have to compare that. After that, they will tell you, once you pass all 4, they will tell you to do basically like an online motivational interview where you send that away to them. And after that, if you pass that, you'll get invited to in person to do basically an interview. And then you have some tests with other people to see how you work in a group. And then I think one more interview, and then you get to become a cadet, and you either study in Spain or in the UK. And by the way, I think that's the same for Wizz Air. If you pass the test, the physics and maths test, you will get an invite to Budapest. And yeah, basically you have to do like a group test, and then they do and once you pass that, you will do an interview, and then basically you'll get invited to join a cadetship in Hungary. Now the other one, it was Baltic Air. Again, this is very similar to the Wizz Air one. Same gig. You have to pay like £10,000. They are in the Baltics, Latvia, Riga. This is a flagship carrier, so it's very good. But it was a bit strange for me because I phoned them up and I was like, well, okay, is it the same deal? I have to send away my motivation letter, my CV, all this and that. And I don't want to get too much away, but I found this a bit strange that I sent away. And at this point, I'd done the Wizz Air application, and they thought I was good enough to go do the test, because that's why you have a CV to assess if you're even eligible, or is it any point in you doing the test. So then I sent away my CV to these guys, and they were like, okay, so when can you, they sent me back an Excel file, and we're like, okay, when can you do when can you exactly do the test, when can you do and when can you join the school if you pass the test? So again, before I phoned up, and I was like, okay, look, I can't join in any of these dates, but can I do the test whenever, or can I join whenever? I'm saying, well, you can do the test whenever, but you don't have to join the cadetship in 3 months. You can join in a year. Okay, so I filled out the Excel, and I wrote this down. So you would assume that if they send you this and they said, when can you do the test and when can you join, you assume that your CA was good enough, and then they just got back to me and said, oh, sorry, on this occasion you have not passed. Which made me think, okay, then why would you ask in the first place whether if I'm good enough, you know? Why would you ask in the first place when I can do this and that if I'm not even good enough to get in? And of course, these guys don't give you feedback. And in the email it says, oh, well, good luck next year. And yeah, but okay, good luck what? Like, how can I improve if I don't know what to improve? At least I know with Vizier that I didn't get in because I failed the physics and maths or whatever. And you know something, the lady was actually quite nice. I phoned them back once just to ask about their modular course in Hungary. And as I said, it's the same school that would do that. Now I will do another video telling you what I know about these schools in the upcoming days. But just to stick to the point, and they gave me some brief feedback, and British Airways also gave me feedback saying, okay, you passed the maths, you passed this, but unfortunately a comparison test, you failed that by a few points. Fair enough, at least I know the basics. But I didn't understand why they would ask me when I can start the school with Baltic Air. But again, I'm just here complaining. I found this weird. Baltic Air basically has the same thing that Vizier does. They train in Riga. You have to put down 15,000 euros. They have great facilities. I know that much. So I'm not knocking the institution. I'm just knocking the way they've done it. And you have to be an EU citizen for Baltic Air, EU citizen for Vizier. With BA, obviously, it's under CAA now. So you have to be a UK resident or UK citizen. I think 2E, I never applied to 2E, to be honest, but I think it's the same deal. Now, there's another one, it's Aegean, but for that one you have to be a Greek or a Cypriot citizen. So again, I have no problem if, for example, Baltic Air have told me that, okay, we're taking only people on for the Baltics. I mean, I got told this from Polish schools, well, that at the moment we're training Poles, or at the moment we're training Greeks and Cypriots. I have no problem if they do this equity route where they put their own citizens or people who live in that country first, because it's like, okay, they need the right to become pilots, and not everyone's rich enough to put away money, especially in that side of the world. So I understand why they want to put them first, but at least tell me why. But anyway, so yeah, these are the two ways you can become a pilot. As I said, it took me 4 years to get to this position where I'm able to now join Ignatia Aviation in Greece, which actually they also train the Vizier pilots, but I'm doing the modular route. So the main point is, guys, that you have to go blue collar. You have to find a blue collar job to become a pilot if you have no money, and you have to save money that way. Set yourself a plan, be honest about your health, basically actually assess if you're going to actually become a pilot, or you just fancy the lifestyle. Make sure that it's not just the lifestyle that you like. Make a clear plan. Make sure you can do a lot of overtime. Even if for example in the US, if you're like a waiter, you can make a ton of money on tips, especially now that there's no tax on tips. Look for these little things if you want to become a pilot. That's what I can tell you. That's how I done it. I had no savings, or very little. I had like £4,000 saved when I decided to become a pilot, and I seen this horrible thing. Oh my God, £60,000. I was able to start again and put more money aside. So it's in blue collar or cadetships. Cadetships, and I will link the cadetships. Now some may not be open at the moment. Like I don't think BA as of 2025 May is open, but they open every 6 months. Vizier is always open. Baltic Air is always open. 2 haven't checked. So yeah, these are the two main ways. Either save money with the blue collar or the cadetships. Good luck with you guys. Good luck with that, you guys. I'm Faustian Frank, and I'll catch you in the next one.